What's up guys, CEO here with the 6th week of the NES. Sorry, I lost track. This week we are going up against the Nottingham Forest Curse, coached by wyrd. I've decided that I'm going to kind of just stop doing the team builders. People haven't really been watching them and they're kind of a bit of a pain for me to have to make. If you guys want them back, I guess just let me know in the comments, and the second I see a comment I'll start doing them again, I guess. But until then, I guess I'll just kind of include it in the beginning part of this. So first off, before I preview her team, I have a light clay cryogonal with light screen, freeze dry, recover, and hidden power fighting, meant to hit both of her dual fighting weaknesses. Then I have a Spec Sylveon with Hyper Voice, Size Shock, Wish, and Baton Pass, kind of just obviously meant to punch holes and stuff. Choice Scarf Nidoking, max attack physical, actually, with Ice Punch, Superpower, Earthquake, and Thunder Punch. Superpower, Oko's, T-Tar, and everything else should be able to hit everything else, I guess. It's a little vague, but whatever. Mega Lopunny with Substitute, Return, Drain Punch, and Ice Punch, which actually does a ton this game if I can weaken Suicune a little bit more. Skarmory with leftovers with Stealth Rock, Whirlwind, Roost, and Taunt. It's max speed to be able to basically outspeed any Bisharp or Venusaur that I need to. And just taunt them to prevent them from either setting up in my face, or just setting up like Light Screen or Leech Seed and Stealth Rock and stuff like that. And finally we have leftovers Lantern with Water Absorb to counter Suicune, and Surf, Thunder Wave, Toxic, and Volt Switch just to get out of there. She doesn't have a ground type again, so again, Volt Switch is going to be nice. This team is pretty much what I expected her to bring. I wasn't sure if she was actually going to bring both T-Tar and Bisharp on the same team because I do have a Mega Lopunny, but she ended up bringing it, which was an interesting decision on her part. One that I guess we'll see if it pays off. She also has Salazzle, Hitmonlee, Vivillon, Noivern, and Raichu. I honestly kind of expected Hitmonlee over Bisharp, if I'm not lying, but that's okay. So I'll preview what's here. Mega Gardevoir is going to be very bulky, especially at least, and also hit really hard, especially. Cryogonal is basically meant to be able to switch into it, but it doesn't do like a super great job of it most of the time. Same thing for Latios, or Latios, sorry. I expect it to be Choice Scarf to be able to outspeed my Lopunny as well as my other Choice Scarfers. Next up is T-Tar, who I expect to either be Dragon Dance, physical, or potentially just like a Stealth Rock T-Wave like utility one that just gets the sand up and stuff. Bisharp, I'm assuming is going to be SD, but I'm not actually really 100% sure because I wasn't really sure how Bisharp like lined up with my team. Got to keep Sylveon out of the way for a little bit. I'm expecting Crocoon, which is Calm Mind, Rest, Sleep Talk, and Scald. And Venusaur is actually I'll pause it really quick. Venusaur is actually a regular Venusaur. She likes running regular Venusaur, and has actually used it pretty well. So I expect it to just kind of do Mega Venusaur things, but as a regular Venusaur, I guess. So I'm going to go ahead and lead Skarmory, just get up Stealth Rocks, and potentially taunt her lead, as she ends up actually leading Bisharp here, which is kind of interesting. I expect her to go for a Stealth Rock here, or potentially just go for a turn 1 Swords Dance, so I'm just going to go ahead and taunt her right away. I can take any hit because, as you can see, a knockoff does 44% when I have an item, so it's going to do even less now that I don't have an item. So I can afford to get rocks up here and potentially just roost stall this thing out a little bit more. It's not going to be able to set up in my face, obviously, because it's taunted. And whenever it gets out, I can just go ahead and Whirlwind, but she ends up going into Tyranitar here, surprisingly. I'm going to go ahead and go for another taunt because, again, I don't want this thing stealth rocking or setting up in my face. The fact that she outspeeds there actually means that she Scarf T-Tar, which is an interesting bring on her part. It does outspeed Lopunny, but it also kind of just gets hard-wooled by Skarmory here, as you can see. So I'm just going to try to get up to a decent amount of health. It gets a little scary there because I get a flinch at a kind of inopportune time. I could go for a taunt here, but after seeing that she's Scarf, there's no reason to, really. So I'm just going to try to go for a Whirlwind here, as she unfortunately gets an inconveniently timed crit. It looked like a low roll of a crit though, because it only did 45%, and the regular ones were doing like 30. I guess that I guess that math works out actually now that I say it out loud, but whatever. So she goes into Latios here, and I figure a Psyshock is pretty unlikely at this point, just because I am in with Skarmory and it's not going to kill or really like do anything because Skarmory's defense is really good. So I can afford to go into either Lantern or Cryogonal here, depending on which one I see as a better wall for her. I end up going Cryogonal, and it ends up doing 64% with the Draco, and she doesn't take damage from the turn, meaning that she's not Life Orb, but she is some kind of damage boosting item, because even a max attack modest Draco from a Choice Scarf should have been doing like about 50%. The plan was to basically have it do 50%, so the next one would do 25, so I can recover on it pretty much. But it doing a little bit more kind of puts a wrench in that, because now if she gets a higher roll on the second Draco, Cryogonal can actually drop immediately, which kind of sucks. She told me after the battle, actually, I guess I can go ahead and say this now since it's post-com. She told me after the battle that Latios is actually Soldew, which is kind of interesting because it got nerfed this generation, if you didn't know. It's a hold item that raises Dragon and Psychic attacks by 1.2 times. It used to just basically make Latios and Latias like super broken, but now it only makes them kind of broken, so we allowed it. I'm gonna play this battle as if it's choiced in some way because I was actually in the car on my way to Santa Cruz during this entire battle, so I didn't actually have time to like calc and figure out what item it was. So I'm just gonna play it like it's choiced and hope for a low roll here as I go for a recover. Thankfully I get back up to a decent amount of health here. And here I just decided to go into my pretty much hard wall for Suicune and Lantern. I plan on going for a Toxic here, just to stall it out, but she ends up going for a Tailwind, which is like super surprising to me. It's actually kind of funny because the night before I practiced as wyrd fell for an assistant coach, or for another coach that was facing her the week after, because we actually ended up doing this battle pretty late, and I ended up actually using Tailwind Suicune, but I never practiced against it myself. So I guess this is kind of me playing against Tailwind Suicune for the first time. So since she went for a Tailwind, I actually kind of expect her to go directly into one of her speed abusing Pokemon here. Could be Lati, could even just be Bisharp or something. Because it could be Bisharp, I don't want to go for a Toxic and just kind of waste a turn. So I'm actually going to go for a Thunder Wave here, which is kind of interesting because normally you don't want to Thunder Wave a Suicune. But since it's Tailwind and obviously somewhat offensive, Lantern has a lot of bulk, so it's not going to take very much from a non-stab extrasensory, but it's kind of interesting to see how much hardcore psychic coverage she has this week. So she withdraws and goes into Venusaur, which is a good play on her part, but I'm obviously not staying in because Venusaur can outspeed and hit me with the Giga Drain, and I don't really want any of that. So I just go into Skarmory here because there's no reason for me not to, really. The worst that she could possibly do is go for an HP Fire or something here, but that still shouldn't kill, so I'm just going to go for a Roost. She ends up doubling back out into Latios, which is fine. I'm going to call it Latios like all battle because I can't keep these two apart. It's definitely Latios, but whatever. So I went into Cryogonal last time, and I'm going to go into Lantern this time just in case she has like a different attack that's more designed to take on Cryogonal a little bit better that she just hit the first time. She misses the Draco, which sucks, but allows me to basically just go ahead and Volt Switch out here. I could go for another Thunder Wave, but I'm afraid she's going to go into Suicune and just kind of block it and get stuff up again. So I just go ahead and make my play. She's at -2 attack here, so I guess I should pause this and explain here. This situation where she's at -2 attack and I get a slow Volt Switch or switch into something is actually the perfect situation for me to go into Lopunny and get a substitute up. But unfortunately, Suicune isn't really in a position where I can kill it yet if it's defensive. I need to get a little bit more chip damage off on it. And I'm also still not 100% sold at this point that this thing's not scarfed. Like I said, I was in the car on my way to Santa Cruz at the time, so I wasn't able to calc. I noticed that it did a little bit more damage than it should have to my special walls, so I was pretty sure it wasn't, but I didn't want to lose this battle one, I'm pretty sure, I guess. So I guess I should pause this before finishing my thought here. So I go into Sylveon here because I can either get a Specs Hyper Voice off or a Specs Psyshock off on stuff. I could have also gone for a Baton Pass now that I think about it to try to get momentum, but that would have felt kind of like a waste of time, I guess, being with a -2 Latios locked into a move that it can't use anything for. So I decide that I basically need to go on the offensive here and hit it with something. I'm really tempted to go for Psyshock because it's pretty obvious that Venusaur is going to be the switch in here. But on the off chance that she plays aggressive and goes into Bisharp or Tyranitar, I more expect Bisharp because it can actually hit me with an Iron Head or something after. I decide to go for a Hyper Voice. Unfortunately, she does go into Venusaur, which kind of sucks, but whatever. I'll just go ahead and switch out here back into Scarm because there's no reason not to. She shows Knockoff, which is kind of interesting tech, but my item's already knocked off. I went ahead and went for a taunt there on basically trying to block multiple things, actually. I wanted to block the Leech Seed, which it ended up doing, but I also wanted to potentially block a Sunny Day from a Heat Rock, like, Chlorophyll sweeping set or whatever. I wasn't 100% sure she'd bring that against me, but I have seen it do some work in practice, so I wanted to make sure that I was prepared for it there. And again, no reason not to roost, because especially now, I'm up to Sturdy, so there's no reason for me to not be able to take a hit now. What do I do here? Sorry, I'm trying to follow my notes, and it's a little bit more disorganized than usual. So I'm going to go ahead and make my switch back into Cryogonal here, because I can take a hit. I end up just going to set up light screens here, as I think she locks herself into Recover. Again, she's actually Soul Dew, so at any point she could have hit here, but I just go for a light screen to be able to minimize the amount of damage I would have taken from a hit. And as she goes... Sorry, my throat's really dry today for some reason. As she goes Bisharp to basically just completely scare me out here, I'm running the calc in my head at least, and remember that HP fighting from Cryogonal is almost a guaranteed OHKO from here. The fact that she's leftovers right there kind of complicates things a little bit, because she could be some weird bulky set. But I am perfectly fine at this point with just going for an HP fighting and either getting this thing into Rock's range or potentially killing it. I end up going for the HP fighting and get a lucky crit to basically guarantee the kill. I'm pretty sure I would have killed anyway, but the crit basically guaranteed it, so I can't pretend like it didn't make an impact, I guess. It wasn't like the most impactful crit, but it definitely did matter. But she gets her free switch into Mega Gardevoir here. I should actually be able to take any hit that I really want to here. But I'm just going to play it safe and go into Lantern, because Lantern does a little bit less, especially since it's at 39%. And you can see that she actually goes for Psyshock here. Definitely trying to play on the Psyshock weakness that this team had. But Psyshock unfortunately takes down Lantern. I end up deciding to switch into Nidoking here because I can get some more offensive pressure on. I guess I'll make that move and then pause it. So if you missed the beginning part of this video, I'm Choice Scarf with Physical. So while I expect her to expect me to want to go for one of my stab moves here, I'm very tempted to go for Ice Punch. Because Ice Punch hits both Venusaur and Latios, both of which seem like the pretty likely switch-ins to this. I end up playing it safe here, though, unfortunately. Earthquake is the only thing that can actually kill Mega Gardevoir if it's bulky from this range. Ice Punch does like 50 or 60% or something like that, so I didn't want to chance her staying in and losing my Nidoking. She unfortunately makes the good play and goes into Latios. I end up having to make the only play I can make and going into Corragonal as she defogs away my screens and my rocks, which sucks. I went ahead and go get the screens back up because I kind of want the support. She gets paralyzed, which sucks. I'm going to go ahead and taunt to make sure that she can't get Tailwind up. She gets paralyzed again, which also sucks. So I just go ahead and get my rocks back up. They don't really do a ton, but I am needing the residual damage here, especially on Mega Gardevoir, to be able to put it into return range, because I think I needed to switch in once or twice more to guarantee the kill. If it's bulky, that is. I think it can only switch in once more if it's offensive. So basically those plays were sped through because I was kind of just stalling it out and trying to get rocks up, trying to get my screens back up, and getting into a position where I can smack her with Sylveon again. Kind of like turn 17, I'm basically locked into Hyper Voice or Psyshock here. She only has one Dark type now, and that one Dark type does not really want to switch into 2 Hyper Voices. So I end up going for a Psyshock here, trying to catch the Venusaur. It doesn't end up working, unfortunately, as she stays in and just goes for another Scald, trying to fish for a burn and gets it, unfortunately. So I'm going to go ahead and switch out and then switch back into Sylveon to reset my choice item. It ends up not really mattering because she gets paralyzed. So take 2 on this. I'm just going to go for Hyper Voice because if she stays in, it does a ton of damage. If she leaves, then whatever. You can see it does a ton of damage, and she goes for the Tailwind now that the taunt's over. So now I have to basically play around Tailwind on top of the rest of her team right now. I'm just going to go ahead and go for another Hyper Voice at this point because there's really no reason for me not to. Scald does a decent amount of damage, but Suicune drops as she switches into Venusaur to get the revenge kill. I could save Sylveon because it's fodder at this point. But because she has a Choice Scarf, Tyranitar, Mega Gardevoir naturally outspeeds, and Latios naturally outspeeds and is potentially choiced, there's really no reason to, so I'm just going to go ahead and sack Sylveon here so I can get the clean switch into... Sorry. So I can get the clean switch into Skarmory and try to stall out the Tailwind a little bit longer. Unfortunately, because she's Tailwind, I can't actually go for a taunt here. I mean, I can, but I'm going to be undersped, so I'm just going to try to get up to a little bit more health with the Roost. And then go for a taunt now, basically just to make sure that she's not Sunny Day still, because that could have messed me up a little bit. Again, I'm just going to try to stall out a little bit more. It's at this point that I need to go for a Whirlwind because I need to get Latios in. This battle's kind of worn down, or her team's worn down enough to the point where Lopunny can sweep, but I need to get it in at the right time to be able to actually do the damage that I need it to do. Also, I noticed that Corragonal should have been faded forever ago. My bad. So I need to get Lopunny in at the right time. So basically what I need to plan here is for Latios to come in and kill Skarmory with a Draco, because then it'll be at -2 and either have to switch out or not do enough damage for me to actually care about it anyway. Unfortunately, she goes T-Tar here, so I'm just going to try to stall it out a little bit more and get back up to a little bit better of health. With the Leech Seed, it's actually kind of a bad thing for me to stay in, so I eventually just have to switch out and reset it. I get lucky on a Rock Slide miss, but it wouldn't have killed anyway because ground resist rock. It's at this point that I am again forced to choose what I want to lock myself into. Superpower kills T-Tar, but it does absolutely nothing to the other 3 members on our team. Ice Punch hits Venusaur, it hits Latios, and it actually hits Gardevoir for decent damage, but it doesn't really do enough to T-Tar to make it worth it. And then Thunder Punch doesn't do anything, so I'm not going for Thunder Punch here. So it's basically just between Earthquake again, Ice Punch again, or Superpower. I end up making the safe/aggressive play, I guess, and going for a Superpower here. I say it's safe/aggressive because T-Tar is the only thing that gets destroyed by superpowers. She could see it potentially not coming. Luckily she stays in, and luckily it drops. Thank God, because T-Tar was kind of getting annoying. And she goes into Latios here. So I'm not 100% safe here. I would like for her to go for a Draco and get the drops, but there's really no reason for her to, because I know she's going to Psyshock. Especially with me being at -1 defense. Like, the only switch in I have is Skarmory right now. And she knows that. Oh, Cryogonal is still alive. I guess I faded that wrong. So I guess I still had Cryogonal alive at this point. This post-comp's interesting. Cryogonal was still alive at that point, and I still had fodder, so I just went ahead and sacked it off because it obviously wasn't really doing a whole lot. Screens actually would have been pretty nice to get up at some point now that she only had special attackers left, but it's not really the end of the world. So I sacked Cryogonal. That's the first time I've ever had a post-com where I faded something too early because I just spaced on if it was still alive or not. But that's what happens in a 46 turn battle. So you may be wondering, Sia, why'd you go into Lopunny if you're afraid that this thing's Choice Scarfed? So 46 turns in, and I'm still not 100% sure if this thing's Choice Scarfed, because again, I'm in a car on my way somewhere, so I haven't been able to calc anything. So I'm just gonna go ahead and try to scout here. If she is Scarfed, she's gonna stay in and go for a Psyshock here, and I'll just have to kind of play appropriately / probably lose to a Choice Scarf Latios, because I don't really have very much besides Skarm to take it at this point. And Skarm like literally only takes Psyshocks. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually double into Skarmory here. If she stays in Psyshocks, that confirms to me that she is Choice Scarfed. If she doubles, then that basically confirms to me that she's not Choice Scarfed, because she doesn't want to take a hit here, obviously. She doubles, so obviously no Choice Scarf. Again, Psyshock's not going to do anything, so I'm going to go ahead and try to Whirlwind her, and luckily I actually get the Latios switch this time. So I'm at a range where she can kill me with Draco, which is exactly what I want. Burb drops. Lopunny comes back in, and it's at this point that I just need to go for a sub. I know she's not Choice Locked, or I assume she's not Choice Locked at this point because her damage isn't really lining up with any choice items. So I'm just going to go for a sub, because worst case scenario I have to sub again. I catch her on the double, thankfully, and she's actually in range where even a bulky Mega Gardevoir will drop from a return, because Bonnie loves me just that much, and I love her just that much. So now Lopunny is sitting behind a sub. 2 Ice Punches will be enough to be able to take out anything here. She makes the right play and goes for the Giga Drain to break the sub at least, but like I said, Ice Punch kills. And then finally she goes into the not Scarfed Latios, which also drops. So it was a long battle. 54 turns is kind of a lot to have to post-com, and I kind of lost myself in my notes a couple of times and ended up fading something a little early. But it was a fantastic battle to word. I was kind of scared, honestly, of this week, because it ended up kind of being difficult for us to schedule our battle. We ended up having to do this probably like a solid week after we wanted to do it, which basically meant that I was super rusty with my team, which I wasn't actually super confident in my matchup anyway, if I'm being perfectly honest. So not being confident in my team, as well as not really being super confident in my matchup, on top of having to play this in a car, which was also a fun experience. But it ended up working out really well. The team did exactly what I wanted it to do. Lopunny did exactly what I wanted it to do. It's in second in kills right now because, unfortunately, rest in peace, HBK, is using Mega Alakazam really well, and it has like 18 kills or something right now compared to Lopunny's 12. So good on him. Sorry I called you Peach instead of Rest in Peace. Next week we are taking on the Seattle Wingles, coached by Super Nerd 92. Super Nerd and I have been probably the longest standing rivals in the league, I would say. I originally roped him into the league to be my assistant coach, and then he took over for a franchise, and he has not looked back since. So he definitely knows my play style, and I definitely know his play style. And he has a lot of things on his team that I'm both scared of and very familiar with from my roster last season. So it should be fun. I'm actually really looking forward to it because our battles are always really close. But yeah, that's about it. My throat hurts, so I'm going to stop talking now. But thank you guys for making it this far. Drop a like and subscribe if you're interested. If there's any sets that you guys want to see, please let me know, because again, I do appreciate it. And yeah, I will see you guys next week. Bye.